Let's have a look now at the 13th hole, Dave. The last in this string of 4 very hard par 4s, 433 yards. The players, depending on the wind, may not use a driver here. So with the wind, that lake you see down on the right does come into play. The fairway going with the players downhill. The problem, most of the time, what sort of lie do you draw in this fairway? Most of them are a little bit downhill, and you're shooting from a downhill lie to this green. You do have an opening there in front. I'll see more of these this week where you have an option of playing a shot into the green. This is Jackie Cupid in the 4th round in 1963. And at the time he was leading, of course, Jackie didn't quite get there. He got the double bogey at 17, which is Jack Whitaker. Been a very historic hole, 17.
Indeed. Now, you think that wind is 7 miles an hour, as we showed you at the top of the show. You know it's different looking at that picture. It's thunderstorm kind of wind, going around in circles and blowing dirt and leaves, and those eddies that foretell that thunderstorms may well be on the way. And of course the wind will affect how these holes are playing. 433 yards. That look like a driver, David?
It sure does to me.
Driving right into the wind, David, I would think they would come with drivers at this hole.
Faldo's cut that one in the right rough, and if it gets in that long fescue, he's not going to be in good shape. Just in the edge of it.
Yeah, there's a shot he has from the rough across the water. He'll have to go across that pond.
Well, he drew a good lie there.
He did?
Just jumped out. He has a very good lie.
Curtis.
It's a hard drive when you're on an elevated tee and you're driving into the wind because you're trying to fight to keep it low when you really can't.
Boy, that's a big drive down the left side. Absolutely perfect.
All right, Curtis Strange in the fairway, Nick Faldo over in the right rough with a fairly decent lie here at the 13th, 433 yards, par 4, and we'll return with the rest of this hole in a moment.
Nick Faldo is 175 yards from the flag. Has a good lie, but the ball is up above him. And the tendency here is, for one, the ball may balloon, and it's into the wind just slightly. And number 2, he has to guard against hooking it. Normally, the ball will hook off this kind of a lie, although the rough may prevent it from hooking as much as it usually does.
Water, no problem there, Bob?
No, no problem.
Boy, that was an excellent shot.
Safely on for the British boy.
Curtis is 165 yards. Nice angle. If he lands the ball to the left of the hole, it should kick down to the right. Ball slightly below his feet, but it should be no problem.
Both of these gentlemen have hit 4 out of 12 greens. A little gusty winds blowing here at the country club today.
They putted well on the front 9. Curtis had 11 putts and Nick 13.
Just didn't cut. He was trying to cut that shot in from left to right, and the wind just fell to move it to the flag.
All right, 2 of them on the green safely here. And David Marr was a busy little man before this playoff began. Here's more of his conversation with Nick Faldo.
This is only your second Open in the United States. Is there any reason for that?
was simply that our qualification's been very difficult. They've only taken #1 in Europe as an automatic exemption into the US Open, which is quite a feat to do. I managed to do it in '83, and I got in '84. I sure, it's one of the wishes that I have, that at least I wish all these major bodies in golf could just get down and sit on a table one day together and thrash it out for a few hours, because there's too many good players in the world that miss out. I think you've got to accept golf is now a world event. Forget all these shorelines and water in between. Let's have all the best players in the world playing together. I mean, then it's fair, because if you win a championship like this, you want to sit back and say, I beat everybody. Everybody teed it up that week in the world who can play, and I beat them.
Hear, hear. Well spoken, Nick.
Very mature young man. Been through a lot of problems. That win was so important to him in the Open Championship last year, his Open. He suffered a lot of criticism in the British press.
Playoffs. There have been many of them here in the United States Open, and 60 years ago today, Johnny Farrell beat Bobby Jones in a 36-hole playoff. Sorry to say that Johnny Farrell passed away last week in Florida, but our condolences to his family, and thank you for the many, many fine memories.
He was one of the first of the dapper dressers. We tend to think of Demerit, but before Jimmy was Johnny, who with his silk shirts and +4s.
So playoffs, nothing new. This is the third here at the Country Club out of the 3 Opens they have held. And 3 Englishmen have been involved. Average scores in the last few Opens. 73.9 for Brookline this year. Pebble Beach, 77.
Weather was tough there that year, too, Jack. There's a guy that's got a seat, I think, or a suspension bridge, or...
I don't know whether he's holding the trees up or the trees are holding him up. Marvelous big old trees here, many of which were around 75 years ago. Faldo taking a good bit of time with this putt.
He took his time, Jack. That is slick going down that hill there. That's what happens to you in an Open, though. You may have the ball on the green, as Curtis did yesterday. You've hit a good shot, but you're putting defensively because it is so fast.
13th hole. Profile of how it's played through the 4 rounds of the tournament. 14 others.
It's the others you must stay away from.
Indeed.
Talk about Johnny Farrell a minute ago, and we'll miss him, but one of Nick Faldo's mentors was Gerald Micklem, an RNA official, a wonderful player who also passed away recently.
The ranks getting thinner. Now Curtis.
Twice today, after he's made a bogey, he's come right back with a birdie.
And not the easiest putts either that he makes for birdies.
None of these are easy. You can see that just moving so slowly and yet still moving makes this putt very important now, as they all are, obviously, but you don't want to drop 2 at the 1 hole.
Now.
It's a lot of daylight when you pick up 2 at once, because Nick has to feel like after he picked up a stroke, then didn't hit a drive in the fairway at 13 and played a good shot up there. Now looks like if he makes this, he's going to 3-putt. This is no cinch either. This is so quick if you ever get it outside of the hole on the wrong line. Okay.
All right, 3 putts, bogey, birdie for Curtis. 3-stroke advantage at the moment. Very timely putt for Curtis Strange here at the 13th. Here it is again.
It looks a lot shorter from this angle, but watch how slow this is moving.
Even in slow motion, it looks fast. Yes, that will get your confidence in high gear, won't it? Here is the 14th hole.
This is the 1 par 5 on the back 9, 527 yards, slight dog leg to the left. Now, if the wind stays the same and it's downwind, if they both hit good drive, they'll be able to reach this particular hole. They both could have reached it yesterday, and yet both walked off with pars. And one of the wives said, "Isn't that terrible? Neither one birdied the hole." But if elevated green there, and that's what makes the second shot a little hard to get on the green. You've got to take plenty of club to get up that hill. But when you do, and if it's downwind, we'll watch Curtis and what he did on Thursday. This is his 3rd shot at this par 5. And that was just beginning to pick up a little speed, as you see the little smile on Curtis Strange there. And of course, he made a heroic 4 there on Saturday when he hit in that little fairway bunker, Jim.
Okay, now they're on the 14th tee. Rossi, you're there. Considering the wind, do you think it's possible for either of them to get home in 2?
Yes, the wind is blowing right behind them, Jim, and they can get home easily here. I would think this hole would play a drive and an iron today.
Well, Nick Faldo needs something dramatic, and the possibility exists here. Possibility of an eagle. But it's there for Curtis, too, with his 3-stroke lead.
Well, he's hit it down the left side, and if it takes a good kick, it'll jump back into the short rough.
Ooh, that's not a very pleasant place to be, is it, Dave? Up against that collar.
Depends if it's right against it, because then you're not fish or foul, and you've got to be careful with a shot like that. I saw Jerry just take a look at it. Jerry?
Well, he's all right, David. He can lay it up with no problem. He can get the club on it with no problem.
The key there was lay it up, though, when he might want to have had a chance at reaching the green.